There's a big clock on the wall, ticking away the seconds. You're sitting there watching it. Tick-tock, tick-tock. 1 minute passes. Then another. Then suddenly you look up and realize 5 minutes have gone by. How could this happen? You were just paying attention. Or maybe you started a task 10 minutes ago, but when you checked the clock again, half an hour had passed. What happened? Did you get lost in thought? When we think about time, we generally assume it's passing consistently. Every second counts down equally. Whatever you do, time marches on at the same pace. But what if that isn't true? What if the way we experience time is more like a funhouse mirror in an amusement park, stretching, shrinking, bending and twisting the reality of those 60 seconds? That would be pretty wild, wouldn't it? But the truth is that this is exactly how it works. Hi, my name is Emrys and this is my channel. Here today we are going to talk about time, not the fourth dimension that physicists measure, but our subjective experience of time. How it feels to live in the moment, and we'll explore why it feels like time is faster now than it was when we were kids. Let's dive in. Time is a constant, always moving forward. In physics, it's one of the dimensions we use to measure everything else, like length, width, and height. If you want to know how long a movie is, you can say it's 2 hours and 17 minutes long. That's because time is a measurable dimension like length. But this isn't how humans experience time. Our internal clocks stretch and shrink depending on what we're doing. So while a minute is always 60 seconds, a minute spent stuck in traffic feels very different from a minute playing your favorite game. Here is a paradox. There's the objective time measured by the clock on the wall, and then there's subjective time, which is the feeling of time as we experience it. Subjective time is shaped by how our brain interprets and assigns meaning to the world around us. It's personal and unique to each individual. Two people standing side by side can both look at the same clock and see different amounts of time passing. So the next time you glance at the clock and wonder where the day went, remember that everyone nearby is experiencing time differently too. Think about the last time you were bored. Maybe you were waiting in line somewhere or stuck in traffic. The minutes seemed to crawl by. 1 minute turned into what felt like 10. Meanwhile, someone else right next to you may not have noticed the time at all. They were listening to music or chatting with a friend. To them, the wait felt shorter. For you, it was excruciatingly slow. This happens because our brain measures time based on how many important things happen. The less stimulation, the slower time seems to go. Now let's rewind back to when we were kids. Does it seem like time went by slower then? When you think about being young, do you remember riding your bike for the first time, or the first day of school, or your first heartbreak? Probably not. You probably remember events, not time. But those events stand out so much because they made up such a big part of your life. Back then, everything was new, so every experience was more vivid. Your brain created more mental bookmarks, making the timeline of your childhood feel longer than it actually was. As you get older, your daily life becomes more routine. You do the same job, take the same route to work, eat the same breakfast. Day after day, the details of your life blend together. The scenery outside the bus window becomes a blurry background, just like a bad connection on a cell phone video. Time seems to speed up because your brain is only registering a few important events each day. When you were little, even a small event could shake up your whole day. Now the same is true for your whole year. So does this mean time really is faster now than it was when we were kids? No, it's just that our brain has stopped creating as many bookmarks. But this doesn't mean time is speeding up. It means we're simply less aware of it. In addition to routine, emotions can also affect how we perceive time. When we're afraid or excited or in love, time can slow down. Think about it. When you're falling in love, every conversation, every text message, every moment together feels incredibly meaningful. The rest of the world fades away. You're focused on this one feeling. So the time you spend together feels intense, rich, memorable. Years later, You won't remember all the days you spent together in real time, but you will remember the intense moments you shared. And these memories shape how you remember the time you spent together. Similarly, fear can make time slow down. Imagine you're walking through a dark parking lot alone. You're trying to hurry home. Suddenly you hear footsteps behind you. You start to run. Your heart races. Your breathing gets faster. Every step seems to take forever. At that moment, it feels like time is standing still. But once you get home and lock the door, you realize that the whole thing only lasted a few minutes. This phenomenon of time speeding up or slowing down based on emotion has been studied for decades. Researchers found that certain areas of the brain control how we store memories of emotional events. These regions include the amygdala and the hippocampus. The amygdala controls emotions. The hippocampus helps us process emotions within the context of our memory. Together, they determine which events are emotionally important and therefore memorable. Researchers believe that these two brain regions also help us perceive time. The amygdala and the hippocampus exchange information with other parts of the brain that control basic functions like breathing and heart rate. By processing sensory information and emotion, they keep track of the sequence of events and help us understand how much time has passed. So the next time you find yourself stuck in a boring meeting, remember that your brain is still keeping track of time. Even if you don't notice, your brain is busy creating memories. It might not feel like it at the time, but years from now, you might just remember that meeting in vivid detail. That's because even if the meeting itself was uneventful, something important must have happened. Otherwise, you wouldn't remember it at all. Maybe a funny joke was cracked, a fight broke out, or a surprise announcement was made. Whatever it was, the meeting wasn't a complete waste. Your brain decided it was worth remembering. If you didn't pay attention, though, time slipped by unnoticed. Remember the last time you were driving somewhere and your family asked, "Are we there yet?" You've been driving for a while, but you were listening to music or chatting with your passenger, so you weren't paying attention to the road. Suddenly you realize that you haven't seen the mile markers for a while. You look over and realize that you just drove right past your exit. Hours pass without you noticing. This is called attentional blink. Our brains aren't constantly measuring time. We have to pay attention to it. And when we're busy with something else, time slips by unnoticed. This is why time seems to go faster now than it did when we were kids. As adults, we're busy. Most of us work full-time jobs, which requires us to focus on our tasks. When we get home, we cook dinner and clean and spend time with our families. Throughout the day, we're bombarded with distractions. Checking our phone, scrolling through social media, watching TV. Attentional blink protects us from getting overwhelmed. We can't pay attention to everything, so we naturally focus on one thing at a time. But this comes at a price. If we spend our whole lives focusing on one thing at a time, we're missing out on everything else. Before we knew it, years passed us by. So is there any way to slow down time? Yes. By practicing mindfulness, having new experiences, traveling, learning, being present. Every time you learn something new, you're creating a mental bookmark. This gives you more reference points to measure time against. Instead of wondering where did the year go, you can look back and see all the amazing places you've been, the skills you've learned, the people you've met. Ultimately, we can't control the passage of time, but we can control how we fill it. So the next time you find yourself wondering where the day went, take a deep breath and be present in the moment. Create some new memories. And now it's time to ask you a question. What will you do with your next hour? If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and share it with a friend. Subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this in your feed. Thanks for watching.